edition of the Music Dreams USA Radio Artist Spotlight. And yes, we have another amazing artist. Her name is Jessie Shea. And she is just rocking the music scene right now. And she has one of her latest songs, City Lights. It's tearing up the charts right now. And before that, she had In My Hands, which is another song that she had, which is just amazing. And so we actually have her live now. And a special thank you goes out to Stephen Brady and our friends over at Blue Shamrock Records. Thank you guys so much. And so let's go live now. We're being brought to you by Football Fanatics. Make sure you join me and my buddy, Mr. David Florio, as we go live with Football Fanatics. And yes, we cover the NFL. So now let's go live now on the Music Dreams USA Radio Artist Spotlight and meet our special guest, Miss Jessie Shea. Hey, Jessie, how you doing?
Hello, hello, hello from Australia.
I know. So how's the weather up there in Australia?
Well, actually, it's a little rainy this morning, which is good. We're in spring, so we get those beautiful, warmer days, and then we get the days where we get a bit of rain, which is good because I live on a farm. And my back paddock's currently growing hay. So the little bit of sun and a little bit of rain is perfect for hay growing. So I'm very happy.
Oh, that's awesome. So how do you like living on the farm? Being a songwriter, live on the farm, I'm sure it gives you some quiet time and, just, sit back, relax and, come up with some amazing songs, huh?
It certainly does. I must say, having the space to be creative is fabulous. I mean, I do a lot of work, like I spend a lot of time on the ride on mower and a lot of other chores as well. But it's really interesting when you're doing things with your hands, how your brain can just tick over. It's a really good thing to do. But also, I love animals and nature. So to be outside and kind of in that space is really, really good for songwriting and being creative. Absolutely.
What's your favorite animal?
Oh, that's really hard. Funnily enough,
When you come to the Russell K show, expect the unexpected.
so I love all animals. I have horses and pet cows, I use them to rotate in the paddocks after where the horses go because they're quite tricky eaters. But I also have a family of kangaroos that has moved in here in the last couple of years. So I sometimes wake up and have kangaroos pruning my roses on the front lawn, which is really quite funny. Um, yeah, so I love kangaroos and Australian native animals. They're really different. They're just really, really different. So, yeah, I love them all. I'm hoping one day to have a koala here. I keep planting trees and hoping, but I haven't seen any yet.
I love it. That's amazing. So for all of our
Yeah,
listeners that are watching now that we'll be watching a little bit later, can you maybe kind of like walk us through your musical journey? How did it begin?
sure.
And where are you right now? And what are some plans for you moving forward?
Okay, so it began a long time ago. I actually come from a long line of musicians. My dad is was a professional drummer in London, in England, for many years, and so he grew up and played gigs in the 60s, and he has seen everyone amazing backstage. He's played with, some really, really top musicians like Stevie Winwood. He was knew the guys in Fleetwood Mac. They wanted him to join the band before it was Fleetwood Mac. He was really renowned. But before that, my grandparents were actually jazz session musicians in London as well, and they played with amazing people. So music has come through my dad's line. But the interesting thing is as we were chatting before we went on stage, on live, my mum's American, so I actually have more of my music that I love that hits my heart the best, which is the American side of music. So the music came from one side, and Mum's, I guess, influence of more earthy and country and acoustic style. So it came together in me, and that's where I've gone. I've always much more preferred the singer songwriter style of music. That's always been my favorite. So when I started, I wrote my first song when I was probably about 6. I reckon I was on a swing in the back tree in the back garden, and I was singing to a tree. So kind of
Oh,
things have
wow.
progressed to other. Yes, I remember it really clearly. So at that stage, my main focus on stage was actually dancing. So I loved dancing and being on stage and performing and that side of things. So I didn't actually start studying music until I was a teenager. That's when I went to music college and studied it properly so that I knew what I was doing. And then since then, people that I met at music college, including some of my lecturers who are still my music mentors to this day, and also people that I met through the course, we actually formed the first band that I had back then, and it was country. We did country rock, and then I moved that into more of an acoustic style, more your Alison Krauss style of like acoustic guitar, dobro, and that's where I then moved with the second version of that band. And then I had a little bit of a break from music to work really hard to get a farm because that was my one of my big goals in life. So I renovated houses. I got the worst houses in the street, and renovated them to then move up and be able to get some land so I could have animals. And then once I was here, my creative side came out again. I was standing by the fire one night and it was a windy, wet night, and I thought, I really need to write some songs again. So that was a couple of years ago. And since then, I have been non-stop writing for the album that I'm doing now, which is what I'm releasing songs for. So I'm already starting to write for album number 2. So
Wow.
basically, yeah, it's been quite an interesting journey. Along the way, I have been putting in for some music awards, like songwriting awards, because I wanted to kind of test myself a little bit against what's out there in the world. So I was really lucky last year to come third in the international songwriting competition within my hands with the lyrics. And just recently, that song also got to the semi-finals of the unsigned song competition, which is again an international competition. So that was pretty exciting. Yeah, so I just keep putting things out there and singing songs and writing songs about things that hopefully mean something and that people can take on, and it can mean something to them if it doesn't mean the same thing that it did when I wrote it. And I think that's the lovely journey, is when people can take things on and it means something, and that's really important.
Since we're on the subject of songwriting, I know like some artists, they have this computer, if you will. It has like different words on it, and then what they do is they kind of like take the words and kind of like put a beat behind it. And then I've got some artists I've interviewed where it's really straight from their heart, it's the past experiences and stuff like that. What does your songwriting look like, and what message are you trying to send out to your fans?
For me, there's always words that come from my heart. I constantly have new lyrics. I'm a lyric writer. Music kind of comes second for me, and that's why I really like co-writing. So a lot of the songs on the album, especially City Lights and a couple of others, I've co-written with a friend that I met at a songwriting workshop in like 20 years ago. We've been friends for ages. So lyrics are my main thing. So words for me come from my heart, and often they come from the environment. I'll pick up little words and I write them down in my notes section. I do a physical writing and I also do notes on my phone if I'm out and about, like if I'm on the mower. I can't run inside. So, so basically, it is always from the heart. And I like to tell stories. I really love to tell stories. So whether it's from my own shoes, or if I've witnessed something, or if I've read a book where I step into that character, that I really love telling stories. So basically, I want to tell stories that uplift people, or that can sit with people in a quiet moment when they are sad, or if they have had a tough time and they want to know that someone out there has been through something similar and has walked where they're walking and is right there with them, beside them. So I mean, I do sometimes write sad songs, but that is country music, and I think sometimes we like to really feel that instead of everything always being perfect. Life has ebbs and flows, and it's in all of those changes of life that bring you the most interesting colors and stories to tell. So, yeah, I want to uplift people, but I also want to be right there with them. So, I think that that's probably the best way to describe it, but it always comes from my heart, always.
That's awesome. So since we're on the subject of country music, do you
Mm.
like where country music is today? I mean, to me, it seems like it's a different feel. I mean, it's not like it was back in the day, right? I think it's a little bit different feel right now. Would you agree or disagree with that statement? If so, why?
Okay, I do a lot of professional development with songwriting, and one of the courses I was doing asked me to go and listen to the top 10 recently. And it was an eye opener for me because I don't listen to the top 10 streaming a lot. I often will refer back to songs that I love and have loved for a long time. So, uh, artists like Alison Krauss and Union Station, which I listen to a heck of a lot, they get a lot of airplay from me. And really quality songwriters, even to your 70s rock, 70s country rock, like James Taylor, he's folk country singer-songwriter, but Linda Ronstadt is another one of my favorites. Trisha Yearwood's early stuff in the 90s and Garth Brooks. A lot of those artists are ones that I really listen to a lot. So when I do listen to the new stuff, I love some of the new artists, and I think some of them have a lot to give. But unfortunately, when I've read the liner notes, especially on some of the songwriting, they're not writing their own songs. It's a machine behind that is feeding them songs because they have the right image. And the other thing, like, I love a good song about a car and going out on a hot night. That's what City Lights is about. But there is the same scene in every song, sitting on a tailgate drinking beer, same scene every song. And it's like our lives are so much bigger than that. There's a lot more stories to tell. So I think it's unfortunate that when I just listened to this top 10, like it was like a ute song, like, well, they're called utes here in Australia, but a truck and a beer song, truck and a beer song, truck and a beer song. And I was like, oh, come on, there's a bit more. We've got a bit more going on. So, yeah, I mean, it's tricky. But yeah, I look, I love some of the new stuff, but I love 90s country. I love 90s country. It's just great, great stuff. Really great songs that have depth in lyrics and interesting melodies, and it's not all the same manufactured sound. It's real people playing real instruments. So yeah, I hope that does that answer the
It
question.
does.
I
And I
kind of
actually
went
got a
around
question.
in a
I
bit of
actually
a
want to
circle.
piggyback off of that one. So, why do
Yeah.
you think that is the songwriting of today compared to the songwriting of yesterday? Why do you feel like the artists are leading that way? Is it maybe because they're not quite sure of the songs they want to put together, or is it maybe especially if you're with a record label? I mean, you're under the gun. You've got to
Yeah.
come up with so many records in such a short time. And if you don't, maybe it's the pressure. I don't know. I mean, that's just me thinking out loud. What do you
Mm.
think? Why is that?
I think you could be absolutely correct there, because I think when you have to make anything quickly, like look at fast food, for example. When you have to make something quickly, it has to be something similar so that you can have output that has a certain level of numbers, but also has a certain level of product, so that you do things, like a Model T Ford, they were all the same and they went down the line because they could do that in an expedient amount of time. But I think when good songs take time, and normally it's very interesting across history when you look at artists, like especially back in the day when artists had time to develop, and their first album was normally something that they developed over a long period of time, and it's normally has a lot more colors in it than their second or third album. If that first album was a success, the second one gets rushed through from the company, which is understandable because they want to make money back on everything that they've put in. Business is business. But I think when things don't have time to develop, you don't get the same depth. And so I think that that's possibly also another reason why there is quite a difference. It's like slow food, fast food. Slow food takes time to grow, and the flavor is a lot better. So, yeah, I think that has definitely something to do with it. Time, and also songs, and it's just like, okay, that's fine, what's your next one? Okay, that's fine, what's your next one? It's like, whereas I think one good thing about vinyl coming up, I don't know if it's the same in the US, but here in Australia, a lot of people are really getting into vinyl and really having listening to an album in its entirety and taking time to slow down and actually see the whole piece as a piece of art rather than, like, I mean, singles are fabulous too, and you have to do single releases because of streaming and the nature of the business. But having that full album, it's like having a proper slow meal that you've, a slow roast that you've cooked over the afternoon rather than quickly flipping something in a fry pan that's taken 10 minutes. Do you know? Like there's just a difference. And I mean, I guess there's a place for each of them in all of our lives, but having to actually time to listen to the song. I love reading lyrics. Lyrics are my bag, as I said before. Every time I hear a song I love, I want to read the lyrics. I want to see who's playing on the recording. I want to delve and do a deep dive. And like I do the same thing with food actually. I have these food fads, I have song fads. So if I have a new song that I like, I can repeat it lots, a lot. I think it's
I
like
love it.
at the time that I just want to know it. I want to be in it. I want to swim in the song. I want to know everything about it. I want to know what it is in the hook that I love. That was one thing that my dad always taught me when I was little, because he does these pop quizzes when you're driving around in the car, because he always has music going, and he taught me and my niece and my nephews the same. Like he's like, okay, so in this song, which part's the hook and which part's this? Like he would always try and teach that. So for me, when I'm listening to music, I listen as I enjoy it, but I also want to pull it apart. I want to know which part of it is the bit that absolutely kills me, that I need to listen to that 5, 10 times, sometimes 20 times, and to know, like, what is it? Where does that touch me and why? So yeah.
That's awesome. So let's move forward now. Let's actually talk about your new
Yes.
album. Let's talk about your album and your songs. Are there any favorite songs on that album that really stand out to you? Which ones are they, and why are they so special?
Okay, so I've released 3 songs so far, and all up there's going to be, I'm aiming for 9. I'm still not sure on 1 or 2. I'm still working with my collaborators in the background where we're doing all the instrumentation on a couple of the last ones at the moment. So now it's like asking you which one's your favorite child or your favorite pet. These are very tricky questions.
Good question.
I like
When you come to the Russell
that's,
K Music Dreams USA
I
Artist
know.
Spotlight, expect the unexpected.
Expect the unexpected. Okay, so in my hands, which is song number 2 that I've released, is one of my favorites because I wrote the whole thing in a day. I did the music and the words myself, which I'm really proud of. So, and also because it has actually gained a little bit of traction overseas in the competitions, and a lot of people have come up to me so far and and told me how much that song means something to them, completely different to how I meant it for me. I wrote it as a song to my guitar, but how for them it's when they're with their children, and how their children have made them be a better person. And so I guess seeing how that song has morphed into being meaning more to more people, I think that's why that one so far is my favorite. But there's actually a really fun song coming out. It's not the next one, but the one after that is called Pretty Baby, and it's quite an old timey country feel, and it's a bit of a funny song as well. It's so the backstory to that one is there was some girls at work that were talking about the really handsome guy who's Aquaman, Jason Momoa. And when my co-writer sent me this song, and he already had the title, and then I had to fill in the whole story, which I love doing. It's like writing a song backwards. It's just great fun. And because the song's called Pretty Baby, and I imagined all the girls at work, if they were in a bar and Jason Momoa walked in, what they would do. And so I just imagined them passing out, like going and talking to him, and all the ways that, that they would explain how they're feeling, because he's such a handsome man and they just think he's divine. He's not quite my cup of tea, but that's all right. So I had that in my mind when I was writing the lyrics to this song, and it's like, your arms are smoking hot like your smile. That's the first opening line of the song. And it's quite a fun song. And I've actually got a full animated video clip that goes with it. And it's really funny and quite humorous. So I can be serious and write sad stuff, but it's also actually really fun to flip it on its head and have something that's absolutely just hilarious. And like, all the girls at work absolutely love it, and they're like, play this song again, play this song, because I've shown them the film clip and got them to actually give me some feedback. So that was actually really, really.
All right, she'll be back, I promise. She got so excited. She'll be right back. But thank you so much for listening to the Music Dreams USA Radio Worldwide Artist Spotlight Show. It's your friend Russell K. And I promise you, we'll have Jessie Shea back on screen with us here. She got so excited. She probably pressed the wrong button. But again, until she comes back live on the air, thank you so much for listening. And again, special thank you goes out to Blue Shamrock Records and our buddy, Mr. Stephen Brady. And we thank him so much for sending us these artists. Make sure you check out the Russell K and Alexa Morning Show. That's right. We are live worldwide, and you can hear us from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And it is a blast. Our morning show, it is awesome. We have a bunch of different characters that we use, and it's a lot of fun. So, and we'll come right back with Jessie Shea. She's live from Australia, and obviously she's having a little bit of computer issues. We do apologize for that, but she'll be back here in just a moment. And again, we are being brought to you by, as I mentioned, from Blue Shamrock Records. And I think, oh, here she comes. Don't go too far. Please don't leave. Please, you guys watch her right now. Please do not hit the off button, okay? Here she comes.
I'm so sorry.
Did you have so much fun? You must have had so much fun. You hit the wrong button, and then me and the listeners are like, okay, did we say something wrong here?
No. We've just had a real big rainstorm come through, and everything just dropped out. That is the joy of living rural, though. Everything just disappears sometimes.
Hey, you know what? Before we got disconnected, right? We were talking about that new song, right? About the song all the girls like, right? So I actually have a
Yes.
request. Can you
Yes.
please request that song in honor of me, right? Well, maybe not. Let's move on to the next subject. I've got to do good on this interview. I'll tell you why. Because if this interview does not go good, I'm gonna be like knocking on your door and looking for a job and ask you if I can mow your lawn and your farm there.
Well, I've got 25 acres. I could definitely use you, but I think you're way too good that you won't have time to do that.
Well, let's continue our conversation with your album and those songs. Now, while we're talking about that, are there any artists that you really look up to? Who are they, and why do they inspire you?
From a vocalist point of view, because I'm a singer first, Trisha Yearwood is absolutely one of my favorite vocalists. She has the most amazing voice, the most amazing range, the depth. It's like mellow honey. She is outstanding as a vocalist, and I can listen to her all day. And Linda Ronstadt is another one of my favorite vocalists. Linda Ronstadt and Trisha have similar range, and it's kind of a similar range to me. So if I'm warming up for a recording or for a performance, I'll normally listen to those amazing women and sing with them to kind of really bring that in. Alison Krauss is another singer that I absolutely love. Her range is probably a little bit higher than mine, but I love her as well. So from those artists and from a vocalist perspective, they are right up there. From a songwriting perspective, Mary Chapin Carpenter and James Taylor are some of my favourite songwriters. Mary is just, oh wow, I love her work. I listen to her a lot. She's just like in my heart like an auntie to me. I mean, I have listened to her for years. So there are artists that I listen to and that I love for different reasons. So they're definitely probably up there as my absolute favorites, and ones that are always in. I have a curated 1,000 favorite songs on my phone. So I've gone through every CD or every piece of music that I have, and I've only got the favorites. As far as more recent artists, Miranda Lambert is. I have so much respect for her. She writes a lot of her own music, and she also has so much guts. She's faced a lot of adversity, and she has always come back a lot stronger. And I really respect her for, I mean, it would have been extremely tough, some of the things that she's had to go through, and she still put her face in the light and stepped up with courage. So yeah, those are my sort of people that have adversity and then also have the courage and the strength to keep going. So yeah, but I'm always willing and love listening to new music as well. So a lot of our local artists here in Australia, you know, you may not get to hear them over there in the US, but there's a lot of people that have a lot of really lovely things to say and a lot of really quality songwriters. So yeah.
That's awesome. And I love hearing you say about overcoming adversity. I mean, you're 100% correct, especially in the music industry. I think the new people coming in, they're looking for instant success right away. And it really doesn't work out that way. I mean, it's, in the music industry, you're going to have ups and downs. And it's really the people that actually persevere, are able to, to get through the ups and downs and just maintain and come up with a game plan, stick to that game plan. And if you're able to do that, doors are going to open. People are going to notice you.
Yeah.
And it's all about the opportunities, right? When you get that opportunity, what do you do with that opportunity? So with that being said, when opportunities come your way, how do you make the best of them?
I first of all make sure that what I'm doing matches my values. I have spent a long time getting to this point in my life where I've created the person who I am, and I have really strong values of doing the right thing, and also putting forward something that is genuine. And so I am so grateful that at the moment I'm having the opportunity to write songs and get them out in front of people and for people to listen to. So I see that as such a huge privilege. And so if that opportunity that comes matches my value system and it is going to also do good, then I'm 100% in. So yeah, and the other thing too is it's really important to remember, and I've said this before, like music is fun. We play music. It's really hard when people become kind of sad about what they're doing, or it's a chore for them. I think that if we have the opportunity to do things in our life that we love, I mean, I do a lot of chores on the farm. I do, what could be seen as chores, if I'm doing a songwriting group and you've got to, submit a song every week, like it's hard going sometimes, but it's like, what else would you be doing? Mindlessly doom scrolling. Like, the opportunity to actually do things that you love is such a privilege. So I try and grab everything, every opportunity that comes, and do it to 100%, as long as it's the right thing for me. So yeah, I hope that answers the question.
Oh,
I keep going.
absolutely. And I totally agree with you. I mean, you have to have a love and a passion. If you don't have the love and passion, I mean, especially in the music industry, you're going to be called out quickly. You're dealing with a bunch
Yeah,
of professionals, people who are the best of the best, and they can tell a phony a mile away. So, I mean,
absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah.
you've gotta have that that passion and love. Totally agree. So let's take you on stage now, right? You're getting ready to go live on a concert. Do you have any pre-concert rituals? Is there anything you do prior to going live on stage?
Okay, so I do try and center myself. That is the most important thing. I make sure that my voice is warm. So because I've trained professionally as a vocalist. I have do vocally. I do all of my
honey and lemon as well in water, so I don't drink anything that could catch in my throat, which we were chatting about before. Like lemon and water is just the best. So I will, yeah, so I'll make sure I'm vocally warm. I'll make sure I'm dressed and comfortable and really happy with what I'm wearing so that I feel that I can not worry about this and give 100%. So yeah, and then just make sure everyone knows the set lists, that I know times. You know, there's all the business side of things, which I really love. I've always put together the set lists. I've always done the run sheets. I've always done all of those things. So I like having all of that set and organized. So basically, you organize, you're warm, you're prepared, and then you go. So I think it'd be the same for an athlete. You know, it's the same sort of thing. You do all the preparation and then you let it go. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we got a question from one of our listeners. Her name is Sherry,
Certainly.
and yeah, Sherry, and she's actually watching live. And her question is, she's from Virginia.
Ah, cool. My mum's from Virginia, Sherry. That's so fantastic.
Yeah, so Sherry from Virginia. And here's her question: when you're on stage, do you ever get nervous? And if you do, how do you overcome the nerves performing in front of hundreds and possibly thousands of people?
I definitely do get nervous because I always want to perform my best. And it's awful when you're a singer and you have that feeling where like you feel like your throat is constricted because you know at least if you're a guitar player you can put your head down and focus on your guitar, or you can, you know, so being a singer you can't hide it because the whole performance is your body. So the way I work through that is I will always go on stage with musicians that I trust, and I think having that team environment is huge. I have been in a situation where I have been on stage over when I was younger doing talent contests where I didn't know the band, and that was a very different feeling. So that's why when I do perform, I make sure that I have musicians that I trust and that I feel I can rely on. They know me, and so it's just like we can work together. It's like having that trusted team around you again. It's that is huge, but also I think having the mindset of the privilege. So, like to be on stage and have people choose to spend their time to come and listen to you is wow. That, like, you have been given a little piece of their life by being able to have time to sing to them. So, I think that's another perspective as well, is going from that gratitude perspective that helps you be a little bit grounded because we're all the same people. We all need to sleep at night. No one's better than anyone else. It's just you might be on stage. It doesn't make any difference to, you know, like you're not better than anyone. You're just there trying to share a little piece of yourself. So yeah, that's how I try and get through it. But there's no easy way, especially when you're singing songs that are really hard personally. There's some songs even in the studio, it's like, wow, when you write them and they're kind of, and then you're performing them in the studio, it's like, wow, that was really tough. But that's what you do. That's why we're doing it, is to share a piece of our heart with someone else. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Here's another question for you. Now that we're on the subject of performances,
Mm.
are there any performances that really mean a lot to you that you'll never forget? Which ones are they, and why are they so special for you?
Oh, wow. There's certainly a few. There's one that I remember. This was with the band. We traveled for 5 hours, which is quite a long time to get to this gig. It was right in the middle of a peninsula that's quite a farming area from Adelaide. So it was a rodeo. And so yeah, it was a 5 hour drive to get there. And then it was a 5 hour show. So by the end of the night, we were all pretty tired. And doing 5 hours of singing is quite an effort. So that show, I will remember it. And, you know, the weather was terrible. The gig got moved inside. Like, it was just, but you know what? All of these amazing kids that were there, you know, and the riders, you know, they'd had a really tough day. They were like bronc riding, like that, you know, if I think I had it tough, they, whoa, you know, physically, but that, you know what, they were all there and they just didn't let the party stop. And I think that is one thing that will always live on in my memory. I've got one of my best friends. She's coming over. She lives in WA. She was in the band, and I love singing with her. When we sing together, it's the harmonies are so much fun. And her and I were only chatting about this the other day. We're like, "Do you remember the rodeo we did in Kimber? Like it was in the middle of all these massive big farming properties. Like it was such a small town, but you put something on, and all these people come from everywhere, and it was." One of those things where I think, especially in a rural space, when something happens that brings people together, and they come from all different farms, and they come from far and wide, and everyone's partying and having a great time together, and they work really, really hard. So to actually let the hair down, they let the hair down really hard too. So that, and I can still see it on the audience from the stage. It's hard to sometimes see the audience because the lights are in your eyes, but I remember the light bouncing off these people. So that is definitely one that I'll absolutely remember forever. It was such a fun night, but I was very tired by the end of it. Because we'd driven the horse float there, because that had all the band gear in it. So yeah, it was quite an epic journey.
Yeah, I feel those moments. Trust me. I can remember last year, I was up in the Carolinas, and I had to do the next day. I had to come up to New York to do an event. So I had two events in 2 days, one in the Carolinas and one up in New York. So I'm in the Carolinas, driving back and going through Baltimore, Maryland, and I was like one of like 200
Mm.
cars that were in all this huge truck tire. And so here I am stranded on the side of the road
Oh,
with over
wow.
200 drivers, right? I mean, it's pitch black, and there's like no one there to help you. And you're sleeping in the car. You don't, and I had one of those
Yeah.
cars where you don't have like one of those spare tires. You actually had like, you got that thing, you put the fluid in it, but the tire
Oh,
was so
yeah.
bad that I was actually on the road. And so I feel your pain.
Yeah, yeah. Wait,
Yeah.
it's funnily you say that actually, because we had a tire incident on the way there. And I think it's funny. I think maybe when you're driving a lot of kilometers too, maybe the rubber gets really hot and the tire blows. But yeah, it's no fun. I'm glad I know how to change a tire, but it's not the most fun thing to do. Um, no.
Since we're talking about burning tires, let's talk about your music. How can our listeners get
Yes.
in contact with you, and how can they purchase this amazing music?
Okay, so I have released it through an aggregator, so it's available on all the streaming platforms. So that is the I guess, and also I've been doing film clips for every song as well. So on YouTube there are all the film clips as well as the static music as well. So basically, wherever someone likes to interact and get their music from, there should be the Jessie Shea songs, the first three of them, which is Sender, In My Hands, and City Lights. So those three songs are available, and the next song coming down the line is called Ghosts. So that will be available very soon. So yeah, so basically wherever people access their music from, they can access it that way. I will be having physical CDs. I know that sounds a little 90s, but I still love CDs. I will be having physical CDs for all the people that don't like to stream music or don't like to access it online. I will be doing those next year. So and I'll be sending them all over the world, and I'm happy to sign them. I'm happy to do whatever anyone wants. So if anyone wants to get in touch with me, but between my website or any of the social media platforms, if you pop in Jessie Shea or Jessie Shea Music, they'll be able to find me anywhere. And I'm happy to respond and chat with anyone on any of the platforms. Just inbox me or DM me, and I'll chat. So yeah, I'm pretty accessible. You can find me on a Google search.
That's awesome. Hey, make sure you send us some of those CDs. I mean, we can use those like for prize giveaways on the Russell Kane and Lincoln Morning
Absolutely.
Show.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll definitely send you some. I'm hoping if things go well, I wouldn't mind doing vinyl, but um, I'll see how things go first. But I'm definitely doing CDs because, yeah, CDs are great. It's still really nice to have something physical. I know a lot of people only stream these days, but my happiest nights are when you choose like a package of song, like something that's dedicated and that you put it on and you play it. So that's why I want to do that. So yeah,
That's
and the 90s were
awesome.
great.
That is so cool. So as we wind down our interview, again, thank you
Yes,
so much for taking time out to hang out with us here. And
thank
as always,
you.
it's always a blast. And again, our show is called Music Dreams USA Radio Artist Spotlight, and you can check us out weekly. And again, a special thank you to Blue Shamrock and Mr. Stephen
Yes.
Brady. Thank you guys so much for sending us the artist. And any final thoughts that you want to share with the people who are watching now and then people who will be watching a little bit later on?
Just thank you for your time. Thank you for listening to me talk around in circles. And thank you, Russell, for having me. It's just been such a joy. And the questions have been absolutely fabulous. I hope everyone, wherever you are in the world, has a great day or a great evening. It's daytime here in Australia, so I'm about to head out and work for the day. So, yeah, have a great day. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoy the songs that I put out there. And if you ever want to know anything about them, just ask me. I'm happy to chat.
Okay. One final question. Do you have any hobbies outside of music?
Yes, I do. I have a few hobbies. So apart from looking after the farm here, that's hobby and work, but I'd also ride Western dressage. So I've got a Palomino paint horse and we compete in Western dressage. So he's had the winter off, so he's just about to come back into work. I haven't told him yet. He's had a very leisurely winter. So yeah, so I like to compete on my horse in Western. So yeah. And
That's
he's actually
awesome.
featured in one of my film clips as well. So in the In My Hands film clip, he's featured in there. So his name's Nixon and he's really sweet.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so cool. Any chance of you maybe doing some shows up in the United States?
I would love to come to the US. I would love to see my family that are in the US. So it's definitely a possibility to come over there. Not exactly sure when. I do have some great people that can house sit my farm for me. So I can get away, which is great because it is good to, although I do always love coming home to the farm. But yeah, I would actually really love to get to the US. I don't know when, but it's definitely on my radar. So I'm very keen and to see family and to actually go and visit the places where my family has lived in the US would mean a lot to me. So, and the other thing is I think if I go there, I'm not going to want to come home, but I do. I love Australia, but you know, my music, my people, it's just going to be amazing. So yeah, I definitely do. And if I do, Russell, I will be hitting you up.
You must be looking at my cheat sheet. That was like my next question. If you're up here, definitely look us up. And I'm trying to
Yeah.
talk Steven in and send us up to Australia because I've never been there. So I'm trying to talk him
Oh,
in to
wow.
send us up there so we can do some live streaming interviews from the concerts
Yeah.
up in Australia. That would be like
Mm.
awesome. So hey, make sure you put in a word for us, okay?
I sure will. I sure will. He's such a fabulous fellow, and a big shout out and thank you to him for linking us up so we could have a chat today. It's been such a pleasure. So yeah,
Yeah. Again, thank you so much for your time. Much success
thank you,
in your musical journeys. And again, on behalf of our listeners and people who are watching now, the people will be watching a little bit later on. We definitely thank you for your time. And and I've had the
thank you.
opportunity to check out your songs, and they are absolutely amazing. So, talk about
Oh,
wow,
thank
that's
you
some
so
amazing
much.
music. So, thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
until then, you take care. Have a great evening. Be safe, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
You too. All right. That was Jesse Shea, all the way up from Australia. And again, make sure if you're an upcoming and aspiring artist, make sure you send us your request to info.musicdreamsusaradio at gmail.com. And who knows, you could be our next guest on our worldwide show. And our show is actually seen worldwide, and we get tremendous response. So if you're an upcoming aspiring artist, we encourage you to reach out to us again info.musicdreamsusa at gmail.com. It's your friend Russell K. You can find me on the Russell K and Alexa Morning Show. And again, our show is being brought to you by Blue Shamrock Records up in Australia. Again, special thank you to Stephen Brady. Until the next time, be safe and thank you so much for watching.